If you've never heard the names Sarah Stock or Eliza Schaefer, turn off this video. Just leave, turn it off, log off, shut the computer, and go for a walk. Go be with your family. Go live your normal life. If you have heard of these two names, then we need to talk. Hi, my name is Victoria Holmes. I'm a podcast producer, and I also work for a political media company, but these videos on Catholicism are sort of a side hobby of mine. Last week on X, or Twitter, or whatever you want to call it, Milo Yiannopoulos posted a thread alleging an affair between Eliza Schaefer and Sarah Stock. Both are married. Both have built online platforms promoting a so-called traditional Christian lifestyle. And both are well-known figures in the far-right internet spaces. Sarah Stock, or also known as Sarah Setka because she married at some point last year, I think, is a Catholic influencer and a Catholic convert to the faith who goes online and promotes this trad wife lifestyle. So this is the last post that Sarah had on her account, which is basically saying that she's going to log off because of the allegations that are swimming around. And here's her promoting the trad life lifestyle. Most men will do whatever they can get away with. That's why there's that old saying about a cow and free milk. She's giving out wife privileges on a girlfriend's salary. Why would he propose? Here's another example of her promoting the trad cath lifestyle. How to ignore the feminist hags and get married young. And then at the bottom there's a comment that says, hey, care to update after the revelations have been made. Eliza Schaefer is the CEO of the media company that Sarah Stock or Setka works for. So Milo went on Twitter and created this thread, and in this Twitter thread he had a lot of receipts. Some of them were recordings with some of these confessions, and you can't see the people's faces in the recordings, but neither Elijah nor Sarah have denied the allegations that were in this thread.
You know what? You had a couple beers. Oh, why do you lie to me? Why do you lie to me? You know why? You're a fucking whore and you're a bitch. And you need to shut the fuck up.
There are plenty of salacious details floating around online, and I do not want to get into them as this is not the point of the video. This trad Catholic lifestyle is more of an aesthetic rather than a moral calling for a lot of these people. It gets really frustrating when you see online influencers starting to spew some racially charged, misogynistic, and other sort of divisive commentary under the umbrella of being a trad Catholic. It really is honestly such a grift, and I want to talk about some of the reactions to these revelations. Okay, so let's look at this overview from a Twitter user named Venom. Popular right-wing Catholic trad wife influencer, February 2025, started sleeping with Eliza Schaefer. She had sex with Schaefer the day that she met him. She slept with him one day before engagement, multiple pregnancy scares, did one abortion. By the way, the abortion is alleged. She got engaged in August 2025 to Will Setka, lied to her husband that she is a virgin, and told him to wait until marriage. She fooled her husband and her thousands of followers. Why are women like this? How can someone preach traditional values while secretly living the opposite? I mean, the same is true for Eliza Schaefer, except Eliza Schaefer also had a wife and 2 kids at home. Another reaction, me working and bearing the sword on behalf of a Christian nationalist government after Sarah Stock is found guilty of adultery and virginity fraud. First of all, how do you even begin? It's just so frustrating because people have this idea of what a Christian nation looks like, and then we'll use these verses to kind of create the laws that would be in this Christian nation. You can't just pick and choose things from the Bible and just like that be the end all. Oh, and of course, there's always that guy that can't keep the Jews off his mind. Regardless of your opinion on Eliza Schaefer and Sarah Stock, this information was released by a gay Jew to set back the far right. And so we can't rally against Elijah or Sarah in this moment. Like, what are we doing? I cannot think of a life so consumed by hatred or prejudice against a certain group of people that everything conspires around the Jews doing something that makes your movement or your life worse. And another comment on this, as someone who has been in far-right religious circles, Christian religious circles, once the conversation starts going more conspiratorial and you have some of the men talking about like the Jews and this and Nick Fuentes and corporism and whatever, it's funny to see how the other half of the men will be like, guys, like, don't talk about that because we want the women to stay. If you're wondering why women aren't staying around you while you're talking about some of these conspiratorial thinking and why you're talking about how the Jews control everything and why we should have traditional Catholic values, you know, as the law of the land, which, by the way, aren't really traditional Catholic values, I think maybe you should reflect on maybe why you're still single. Now, this is a take I agree with. I see so many people calling Sarah Stock a whore and a homewrecker, saying how women like her make men afraid of marriage. I see very few people talking about how Eliza Schaefer's actions and men like him make women afraid to be stay-at-home moms. And I find that interesting. I mean, it's true. There are two parties in this relationship that caused great harm to both their families. There's really only one lesson to be learned from the Sarah Stock situation, and it's that women deserve less. I don't want to make this into like a man versus woman thing. Again, I think it is definitely something that we need to have accountability on both sides. I don't think it's that difficult to say that. Trad is dead and Sarah Stock killed it. Marriage should be one bank account, no prenup, a billion kids, no divorce for any reason. Okay. Do I need to say anything? Asked my friend what he thought about Eliza Schaefer and Sarah Stock. His answer did not disappoint. Influencers are the literal embodiment of Carl Schmitt's criticism of democracy. They are all vain carny trash who will do anything to seek attention and affirmation. This applies to basically the class of people narcissistic enough to run for office. They'll do anything to get fame. Influencers, politicians, actors, reporters, all should be considered lower class and disgusting. It's really annoying when people use the terminology lower class and plebs, because I think the people using that terminology truly believe that they are in the higher classes of society. Also, side note, I'm hearing a lot more about like online right Catholics using Carl Schmitt as a certain person to reference when they're making arguments in favor of Catholicism or against democracy. Carl Schmitt was a Nazi collaborator, and I'm thinking that I might do another video on him because this is becoming a name that I'm seeing a lot more often. I'm not going to read this entire text post by Society Reviews. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. In light of the Sarah Stock story, this really goes to prove for men you are taking a major risk with your life and every woman you choose. And unfortunately, the odds are not in your favor, and the consequences of picking wrong are dire. I mean, the consequences for picking wrong for a woman are also dire, as if there are two people in a relationship, a man and a woman, and there's children involved, and the man decides to leave, it is far more likely that the woman will be the one to take care of the children. And also, being pregnant is not an easy experience and can be deadly. Sarah ended up deleting her account, so you can no longer really find any of her previous tweets unless they were screenshotted by someone. I just think that this whole scandal that happened really exposes a pattern that I'm seeing among a lot of people who are becoming super trad right Catholics, especially if they have recently converted. And I don't want to like put people into groups and say like, oh, more converts who are converting are starting to become a little bit more radical with some of these far right beliefs, because I also think it's a little bit more complicated than that. But I'm noticing that if someone does convert and they're starting to become super vocal online, especially about some of these far-right lifestyles, then it's just a red flag. I also don't want to be super blackpilling, because as someone who is involved in a lot of Catholic groups, young adult groups, people don't really think this way. Don't blackpill. Like, that's the whole point of Catholicism, is to not blackpill, is to have hope. And even though there are things out there that really may scandalize some people, think back into the early 2000s when a lot of the Catholic sexual abuse scandals came to light. I'm sure a lot of people were very scandalized by that. It's just, unfortunately, there's evil in this world, and as long as we are in this world, we are supposed to be fighting against them. But it's also the calling of a Catholic to have hope. And that's basically what I want to say in this video, is that yes, scandals come and go, but at the same time, what really truly matters is the religion and your faith, and not a cosplaying lifestyle. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am officially in Washington, D.C. I have moved in to my new place, and it's been a journey. This week has not been very easy, but we are here. I have officially spent about 6 days in my new place, and it is cold. It is very cold. I think yesterday I was going out and it was -4 degrees. Like, the temperature, it was like 15 degrees, but it felt like -4 degrees. Actually, it was 8 degrees. And that was the coldest weather I've ever been in my entire life. And I was very shocked. I felt like I was in shock by how cold the weather was. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.